okay. So if we can just get into it by maybe you introing yourself and telling us a little bit about where you're at today in life.
So I'm Laura. I was born in England. My family come from Ireland, but I was born in England, and we moved here when I was 8. I got 3 beautiful babies. I got an 18-year-old, 9-year-old. Yeah.
Fucking hell, you don't look like you got an 18-year-old.
18-year-old, 9-year-old, and 11-year-old. And then I'm also part of a big blended whānau with 3 other babies. 2 of them are grown up, so we got 2 more calls as well. So it's big and beautiful and lots of fun.
Fucking me.
Yeah.
What makes you want to share your journey with us tonight?
I think one of my main reasons is I got 2 girls, and so my big girl's 18 now, and I think it's really important. I don't want them to experience the same thing I did, where it's like if things happen you just don't say anything. I want them to see me speak up, and if anything happens to them they'll feel like they can speak up.
So like giving them permission to
Yeah.
open up and share.
Yeah. And I also feel like I've kind of witnessed firsthand when I've tried to talk about domestic violence, or others have tried to talk about domestic violence, people kind of cringe a little bit. And there's still that whole, like, it's embarrassing, you know, why are you telling the world about that? And I think if we make it more normal for people to speak about it, normalize it, then maybe more people will talk up when they're going through it.
Yes.
So
love it. Awesome.
Yeah.
We want to thank you first and foremost for even being here, and we feel really honoured and privileged to be able to hear your journey. So in saying that, where does your journey begin?
Looking back, I think it started when I was young, like when I was a child. I didn't go through any like real abuse or anything, but I think my childhood definitely set me up for entering these type of relationships.
In what way?
My mum's a pretty difficult personality type, and she was very much put your feelings and emotions to the side to please everyone else.
Ooh.
It's really about like how our family looks to the rest of the world. And I guess one example I have of this is because we moved to New Zealand when I was 8, and a couple of years later one of my uncles came to visit, and we went out to the beach. My dad wasn't there because he was always working, but mum was there, and he asked me to put sunblock on his back and his chest, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that, like awkward. And I saw mum look over at me and she was really angry, and I was like, oh, she's angry, I'm not rubbing sunblock on him, okay, I better do it. So I did, and I was like, you know, as a young girl you already have those feelings of this is awkward, I don't want to do that, but did it. And then when we got home that night, I heard her telling my dad that she thought my uncle was like a creep for asking me to rub the sunblock on him. And I thought in that moment, so you weren't happy, like your angry look wasn't that I was saying no to him, your angry look was that he asked me. And so it was more important to her in that moment not to protect me and tell him, nah, my daughter's not going to rub sunblock on you.
Yeah.
It was more important to meet his needs, I guess. And that's a very minor example, but over time it started to teach me, and I think my sister as well, that it's just more important to meet other people's needs and put your own feelings aside. Yeah.
Wow.
So I feel like that kind of set me up for these kind of relationships. And I guess it all really kicked off for me when I was 14. I had my first relationship, my first serious boyfriend, and I introduced him to mum and dad. And he was like a real spinner, I found out later, like real liar and stuff. And we were at lunch with my mum one day, and he told her his parents were principals of a school and they got a job down the line or something, so they had to move away and he didn't want to move. And I was like, oh, that sucks for you, like you got mates here, but oh well, see you later. but my mum felt sorry for him and invited him to live with us.
Wow.
And I was like, what? I'm 14? Like, I don't want this. It's all a bit heavy, but I just didn't say anything. And I, like, looking back, that was the first little step into me just constantly putting my feelings aside to make sure that they're happy, my partner's happy. Yeah, so he moved in with us, and you know, I was 14, he was 17, so he wanted certain things that I didn't. They put us in separate bedrooms, but you know, he's 17, he wanted certain things, and I wasn't keen, but you know, eventually that started happening a lot, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it, like being intimate. But I remember back then thinking, but it makes him happy. So whether I hated it or not, I felt good after, because he was happy and that's what he wanted. So I know from like 14, I was pretty in the habit of just doing what was needed to make my partner happy, whether I was happy or not. So he ended up going away on camp for a week, and my mum found like a packet of condoms in his room and somehow came to the conclusion that he was cheating on me. She she couldn't get her head around the fact that it was us two together. And so they kicked him out, and he told them, no, it's actually us together. I'm not cheating on her. And she came and asked me, and I said, yeah. And my mum was like, you're 14, like, you know, there's a name for girls like you that go ahead and do this sort of stuff. And I was just like devastated that my mum saw me in that way. But I was also thinking to myself, like, he wanted this, I'm doing this to make him happy, but now my mum's not happy. And yeah, it was pretty shitty. But that ended, that was cool. They kicked him out, and that was the end of that. So I was pretty happy about that. And then 15, I left school. School wasn't for me, just wasn't feeling it. So I started a hairdressing apprenticeship, and that was awesome. Loved that. And then at 16, I met my kid's dad. He was just a year older than me, so we were both pretty young. And we weren't very serious or anything, but we got intimate straight away. And first time that happened, I fell pregnant with my first baby. And we talked about it, him and I, and both of us thought, I guess like all 16, 17-year-olds, that we were ready to take on the world and thought we could do it. So it was like the hardest thing I've ever gone through, having my baby at 16, but the most amazing thing. Like, she is like my whole world. All my babies are my whole world, but she saved my life so many times, honestly. Having her, like, if I didn't have her, I could have just easily walked out of this world.
Yeah.
But she is just everything to me. So I was so blessed that she came at that time. But yeah, we were super young, and so that kind of glued us together, having a baby. And I was 16 when I was pregnant, 17 when I had her. And I was also feeling like really blessed, not only because I had a baby, but even though he and I, like, I don't think we ever would have lasted if we didn't have baby, we really like clicked together really well after we had her. And he was part of a huge whānau, and they like welcomed me with open arms, and I'd never had that. Like, with us moving from England, I was like old enough at that time when we left that I knew what it was like to have your cousins, and knew what it was like to have Nana and Papa, and we came here and I was like, none of it. So I was so stoked to be part of like this big whānau, and they were amazing. They're still amazing. Yeah, and when my first baby was about 18 months, my mum and dad decided they wanted to head off to Aussie. So they did. They left, and they went with my 3 siblings. And we were planning on staying here, and I was all for that because we had this big new whānau. Or I had this big new whānau that I was part of. But not long after my parents left, we were like, oh, the Gold Coast is calling. Like, who wouldn't want to go there? So we up and left as well. And that's where it ended up getting pretty hard. I think you know, like we were both so young, and my partner was so young, and he wanted to go live it up on the Gold Coast like any young guy would, and so he did. And my parents lived very close to us, like just we were living in separate apartments, but pretty much right next door. And I wasn't working, I was just home with baby, so I'd either go across the road to my parents or be in my apartment. And I got more and more closed in during that time, more and more isolated. I'd end up visiting them less frequently, and I just kind of sunk down. And not long after we moved there, my mum decided to call it quits with my dad, and she and my sister went back to England. So it was just my dad and two brothers in Aussie. And then my kid's dad started doing things to my family, like stealing from my brothers and stealing from my dad, and they kind of had enough of him. So it ended up just being me and him. And I think that's like the most dangerous time when you got no one else to talk to, like no family support. Like of course they'll have my back no matter what, but they'd had enough of him, of all his games and all his bad behaviour, I guess, but I would stick with him no matter what. And it was kind of around that time, the period where I became more isolated from my family, that he was going out a lot more. There was heaps of drinking, heaps of drugs. Like he was part of the rugby scene over there, and they were just into all of that. And he'd go out a lot, and when he'd come home, there was like a 2-year period, and it was around this time where this certain type of abuse was really bad. Throughout, we were together 12 years, and throughout different periods of this relationship, it was like different types of abuse were more prevalent. And during this 2 years was the period where the sexual abuse was quite bad. He would come home from going out and want to be intimate, and I just wouldn't want it. And I'd say no, and he'd just like fight until he's able to do it. And then once he's overpowered me and it's happening, I'd just stop, give up. And the fucked up thing is, the next day I would wake up and make sure I make him a big breakfast and make sure I get everything sorted to like apologize for him for not giving up, like not giving it up to him. Like apologize for fighting him, and like it's crazy saying it now, but in my head at that time I thought, he's my partner, like I should just be letting him have this, and yet I'm not wanting it, so he's got to fight me to get it. I shouldn't be making him do that. So I'd do anything the next day to make it up to him. I'd never like challenge him on that behavior or anything. And it was pretty bad for a couple of years there. And we were always like moving houses. It was really unstable. We'd spend some time living with my dad and then move to again, and it was like always, we were all over the place. And eventually we were there for about 6 years, and I'll backtrack a little bit. Before we left there, I decided I needed to get out of the house. So baby was old enough to go to daycare, so I got back into my hairdressing. I did my apprenticeship over there, and it was awesome because I was able to start meeting people my own age. And my boss there, she was like my mum. She was amazing. And they kind of started to point out, like, this isn't normal. He's constantly ringing you at work, like every 10 minutes. Why? That's not normal behavior. And I couldn't leave the shop at lunchtime. I had to make sure I'm in the shop because he's, who are you going to meet? And so my boss there, she said, how about I put some of your wages away from your pay each week so that if you need to go, you can go. And I was thinking at the time, you're nuts. Like, this is not that bad. Why would I need that? Like, it's me and him against the world. There's no way I'm running from him. And I told him that she'd suggested that to me. And from then on, all the money I earned was his money. And he, I don't know how, but somehow twisted like that situation into me not being able to manage money at all. Yes, you know how like things get twisted. And so it got to the point where like I'd have to do the grocery shopping, but he would come and be with me, and everything's like his approval or not his approval. And like I remember there was time, especially one time where I needed pads and stuff. And I got them, put them in the trolley. He's like, no, I'm not wasting my fucking money on your shit. I'm like, but it's my time of the month. Like, I need this. He's like, no, I'm not wasting my fucking money on you. And it was my money. I went to work and earned this, but that's just how it was. And instead of having the lecture for how many hours, I was like, okay, I just did what I had to do to get through the week. And that just continued and continued. And there was lots of like, you know, you're worthless, you're useless, all the mental and emotional abuse kicked in. And I'd started to, because I'd made like some good friends at the salon, they'd be inviting me out places. And when I started to get friends, it just went up another notch. Yeah. Like, because they'd kind of call him out on stuff. And anyone who disagrees with him or calls him out or says he's got bad behaviour is an enemy. So I learned pretty quick that I couldn't have friends. It just wasn't worth the stress that I would have to go through. And like at that time, whether I was okay to go through it was one thing, but I was always very conscious my baby's here. Yeah. And so I'd do anything I could to shut him up, to make sure his lectures don't last too long. When I say lecture, it wasn't just like someone talking, it was like throwing things around the house and, you know, screaming. Like his favourite saying was, you don't listen unless I fucking scream at you, eh, Laura, you know? So I do anything I can to shut it up quick and make sure he's not raging so my baby doesn't have to go through this. So again, I was pretty isolated. Whether I made those mates or not, that ended pretty quickly. And eventually, he made some enemies within like a gang in Aussie with the rebels. And there was some threats towards me and baby, kind of to get back at him. So we left there in a hurry and came back here. And I was okay with that because I was like, sweet, we're going back to family. Like, I considered them my family at that point, so it was all good to leave. Not thinking about it at the time, like the only real safety net and place I had to run to if I really needed to was my dad and my brothers. And so I was still thinking back then, like his family's my family. But at the end of the day, it's not, it's his family. And they love me, but they love me because of the babies. Yeah. So anyway, we're back here, and we lived in Whangarei for a bit, and then ended up moving up to, where were we? Maramaku, and then we moved to Moerewa. And it was just really, really isolating. I'd started to kind of click on to, because I was just so unhappy all the time, you know, like there was always things being thrown around the house. I was always being told you're fucking stupid, you're a dumb bitch, like, and I was just unhappy. I remember I used to see people online and they were like talking about how amazing life is, and I was like, yous are liars. Yous are liars, because we were together from 16, and my mum prior to that was a kind of the same personality type as him, nowhere near as extreme, but it was always pandering to her needs. So I never really felt like in love with life. I used to think people were lying. But So yeah, moved up north, moved away from his sister that I was close to. He's got a sister who's incredible, and yeah, she was amazing. So moved away, super isolated again. And when you're on your own, that's when it's at its worst. Well, for me, when there's no one around to challenge any behavior, it's just really, really bad. Yeah, so I had my babies in Kohanga, and there was a lady there, and she doesn't know this, but there was 2 ladies that saved my life, I think, and she was the first of the 2. And I was at the point where I was just so down, I was just so over it all. I was like, I'm done. I was constantly like being told, you're just scum, you know, why are you even here? And I really, really, really believed it. So I was doing some mobile hairdressing, and that was the only time I was away from him. So I started to tell her just little bits of what was happening to kind of see if, am I nuts? You know, because everything that would happen, if I'd say after it, you really shouldn't be acting this way, or I don't think you should be treating the kids like that, I don't think you should be, I don't think you should be behaving this way, it would be, you know, you're living in a fucking fairy tale, Laura. This is not reality, you're nuts. So anyway, I spoke to this lady, and I decided I'd open up to her, share a few things, and see what her opinion was, because I really valued her opinion. She was a really strong, loving woman. And she said to me, yeah, he might be my cousin, but that stuff's not right, you know. He should not be doing this. And that was like, it wasn't a lot, but it was enough for me to say, yeah, no, I'm not calling it quits. I'm not crazy. I'm not stupid. I'm right. Like, he shouldn't be doing this. And so that gave me a bit of a spark to carry on, and ignited a little bit of a fight, I guess. So we went through a period where he thought it was like a great idea for me to have a hair salon, and we'd become millionaires from having this hair salon. And in Kawakawa, I didn't think it'd be a good idea because there was already 2, but he thought it was a great idea, so it had to be my idea. Like, of course I had to jump on board, and I was all for it. And his whānau helped us out, and we set up this shop in Kawakawa. And of course it didn't work. Like, it was never going to work. But there was just always like smashing stuff in the back, and it was just a nightmare, that place. So once that failed, he was offered or encouraged by one of his mates who worked at the prison at the time to apply for the job. But because he didn't have a clean criminal history, he'd had like driving charges, they declined him. And he was like, well, I'm declined, but you can get in, you got a clean criminal history. I'm like, I can't work in a prison. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, well, it's good money, like, we've got nothing else, so go, you're doing it. So I applied, and I got in, and I like hated him for making me do it at the time, but I'm so thankful he did, because that was what gave me the strength to leave. Eventually I started the training, and it was in the very first week. They did this, it was a full day about domestic violence. And I was like, holy shit, I was sitting there crying, and I'm like, fuck, this is what it is. Like, I'd always known I wasn't happy, but I didn't realize, like, I don't know, it sounds crazy now, but I didn't realize people were going to prison for this. I really just thought he's a difficult person, but, you know, we'll get through it. Because no matter what he did, there was always like a new low. And no matter what he did, I'd always forgive it. Like, you said something on your live, I saw this morning's one, and you were like, they'll always do something and apologize and draw you back in, and it was very much like that for years and years. Like, you know, there was cheating, sweet, get over that, move on the next day. He like made this whole thing about he had cancer, move on the next day, you know, steal from my family. It was just, you know, whatever he could do was never bad enough. But anyway, so I had this training and realized, far out, this is what it is. I'm experiencing that, and decided I'd go home and say, like, that's enough, we're not doing this anymore, I'm leaving. And of course, like many others, that point where you say you're leaving is like really, really dangerous.
Yeah.
And I knew from things he'd done, like throughout our relationship, there was the sexual abuse. He overpowered me that way. He choked me while I was pregnant, and then occasionally from time to time when I pissed him off enough. And, you know, he'd whack me with things, and so I knew he could be very violent.
Yeah.
And so that, you know, they say like a woman tries to leave like on average between 8 to 9 times, and mine was around that. I tried to leave like throughout the years, it was probably around that amount of times. So I went back and said I was leaving, and normally when I'd say I'm leaving, we'd have a fight. I'd try and leave, and then he'd say, no, you're not, and I'd say, okay, you know. Yeah. But this time I stuck with it, and he grabbed my baby. She was only 18 months at the time. So we ended up having 2 more babies after my first one.
Yeah.
And he was holding her, and then I said something that pissed him off, and he threw her on the floor. And I was like, you can do what the fuck you want to me, but you don't hurt my babies, you know? And that was it. I was like, nothing. Like, that is the low of all lows. Like, you've reached heaps of lows, but that is it. You don't fucking throw my baby. And so, yeah, I started asking for help. I rang the police, and I managed to make one mate through hairdressing. And she was the second one, I think, saved my life, because she ended up taking me and the kids in.
Yeah.
And she was going through her own stuff, like she was going through her own separation at the time, so she didn't need us. But thankfully, I kind of reached out to her, and she took us in. And yeah, so I came back from work one day. He'd like gone to his sister's or someone's, and I came back, picked the kids up, came home from work, and he turned up, and he was, you know, back in the same thing. You're not leaving me, threatening to hurt the babies, just, you know, all the threats under the sun. And his auntie and uncle were our landlords, and they called the police. They live right next door. They said, we're over this shit, like, he needs to go. And the police turned up, and, you know, at that time, by that stage, I was really good at putting on that poker face when anyone turned up. Like, we could go through hell, but if someone turns up, we're all good. Like, we're a team. So the police turned up, and they were like, obviously you can't stay here. She doesn't want to be with you. Have you got somewhere to go? And we were in Moerewa at the time. He said, yeah, I got my sisters in Whangarei. And they're like, okay, well, how are you going to get there? And he's like, well, she can take me. And I was standing there like, no, like thinking he's either gonna, I'm trying to leave him, he's gonna drive us off the road.
Yeah. Or
he's, you know, I don't know, but I was petrified. Like, there's no way I wanted to be in a car with him all the way to Whangarei. And like, I'm not downing the police. I love the police. Like, they do an amazing job. But the lady, there was 2 that turned up. The girl was really young and clearly didn't have a lot of experience in this at the time, because I was trying to show with my body language, I do not want to go with him.
Yeah.
And I think maybe someone with more experience would just know, if someone's trying to leave, you don't send them off in the car with them.
Yeah.
So anyway, he was like, no, we'll be all good. And I just didn't say a word, and they didn't ask me. they just took his word that we would be all good, because he was saying he's calm now. And so they sent us off on our merry way for me to take him to whānau to his sisters. And sure enough, in the car, it was hell. Like, he smashed everything up he could, and yeah. Thankfully, we're still here, but who knows, it could have gone a lot worse, but thankfully it didn't. So he decided not long after that we'd be better for a fresh start. So he was going to move back to Aussie, and then even though I was saying no, we're still not together, he was convinced that because he said we were, regardless of if I said no or not, and that me and the kids need to follow him after he left. And so he left, and then, yeah, thankfully he did go, because that ended it. I said, we're not coming, we're not following you, after he'd gone. And he stayed there for several years, and it was awesome. I moved on pretty quick, like, didn't give myself much time to heal. Moved on to the most amazing human I've ever met, and I guess got to learn what real love was. And then a couple of years ago now, I heard he got put in prison for assaulting the latest of his string of partners over there and her kids. So he was locked up, and they decided he was going to be deported. So I was pretty close with that partner, that the latest one he assaulted. I mean, over the years, I always used to have his partners like message me. For some crazy reason. He used to tell them we were like close, me and him, and they'd message me and be like, oh, I hear you talking to him all the time, like, do you know where he's gone? I'm like, what are you talking about? I haven't talked to him in years. But that was cool, because at least I got to know like what was happening, keep tabs.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of them ended up, well, I don't know any that didn't. No one contacted me that didn't end up the same way my relationship was with him. There's a string of women who have all experienced the same thing as I went through. So the latest one, yeah, he assaulted her for the last time, and her kids, and that same thing as me, her babies was the last straw. So he got put in prison, and then said he was going to be deported. And so this time last year, it was coming close to the time he was going to be deported, and he was sending lots of emails talking about wanting to end his life and that sort of thing. And even though I was done with him, I was like, he's sending me this, I can't just ignore it, because it's my baby's dad. Like, if he does do it, even though there's no way I thought he would, because he threatened this so much throughout our relationship, every time I'd say like I want to go, it's like I'm going to kill myself. So I didn't really believe he was going to do it, but I thought I've got to do something, because it's my baby's dad. What if he does, you know? So I contacted the deportation centre and asked that they go in and make sure nothing's happening. And they got back to me and said, he's just sitting in there laughing, like, don't waste your breath next time. And then he sent some more emails saying, you know, you can stop me while I'm here, meaning because I'd asked the staff to go in and check on him, but you can't stop me when I come back, and I'll be taking my son with me. And so for me, that was, I just felt in my gut that, okay, so as soon as he gets back, I'm the target again. Me and my babies, it's gonna be like that. So I was petrified. And because, you know, like, I knew what he was capable of. So I tried to get a protection order, went to the police with the information, talked about the emails that he sent, that he wanted to harm my son when he gets back. I thought I was making a statement at the police station, but later on when I requested or any call out, like information from police, they'd recorded that I went there and told them there was a whole lot of undisclosed violence when they like pushed it out of me, forced it out of me, but I refused to make a statement. And like, again, I love police, but that's another, I went there to make a statement. So I don't get how we can be getting it that wrong. You know, like I was there, I thought I was making a statement. I was begging for help, that's why I turned up there. But it wasn't recorded that way at all. Anyway, so they made a referral to Women's Refuge. I didn't hear anything. And then a couple of weeks later, I got a photo from his ex, the one who he was in prison for assaulting, and it was a photo of him going through the Auckland tunnels, and he'd said, I'm on my way to stab you in the fucking neck. And so she was like, I think he sent it to me to... We both thought the message was for me, but he sent it to her so that, because if I had that message...
It's not directly from him.
Yeah. If I had that message, I could go to police and say, look what he's threatened me. Like, he was really good at games like that.
Fucking hell.
So I was at work at the time, and it was like 5, so I rang the police and asked, can you go to my house? Because this was sent hours ago. She's just got a hold of me. He's already here. Like, I thought I'd got in touch with everyone I could about him being deported. I wanted a heads up, but I never got the heads up. That was the only way I found out. So, contacted police. Asked,
They gave me a heart attack.
Sorry.
It's alright.
Yeah, asked them to go check on my babies, and no one turned up till about 11 o'clock that night.
No.
But you know, understaffed, our police, that's how it is. There was no like direct threat at that time, so they turned up and said, lock your doors and we'll make a referral to Women's Refuge for them to help you with a protection order. That was on the Thursday night. So Friday, didn't hear anything from anyone. So I rang Women's Refuge and said, I need help, I need to get a protection order. I know that, like, I know through my work that doesn't stop them from hurting you, but I also know it gives police power to do something if they come near you. So I desperately wanted this protection order, some way for police to act if he did come near us. So yeah, the Friday, rang Women's Refuge. They gave me a list of lawyers to call around to help do the paperwork for the protection order. But because I work, I couldn't get legal aid, and the only lawyer available wanted like a $4,000 retainer, and I didn't have $4,000. So I thankfully for like a little period before that, I'd been doing some work as like for a legal firm, just like an admin person, but I became pretty familiar with doing that kind of paperwork. So I went to the court, asked for whatever papers I need, and fumbled my way through it. But that really made me like, that needs to change. Like, I'm going to do anything I can to try and make that change, because if that was me 7 years on and I was flustered, like I was stuffed trying to get that paperwork, and I had like, I needed to have it done by lunchtime, they told me, so I had a few hours to get it done. Imagine if I was exiting this violent relationship because I work, I wasn't eligible for any support. There's no way I could have done it. There's no way. So I feel for women like that who are in that position, and I think we need to do more to change that. But anyway, yeah, got the protection order, and thankfully he's steered clear. Yeah. So I guess from that, a couple of things I think is really important is there's lots of different types of abuse. We all know that. But there's also lots of different ways that people who are experiencing abuse and hiding it reach out for help. So for me, when I spoke to my kids' kohanga fire, that was me like begging for help, even though to her it never would have looked like it at the time, because I didn't know how to ask for help. So I guess when someone starts to maybe talk about any abuse, or you hear someone mention little things that seem off, I think it's really important for us to be nosy. Yeah. Like as a community, we're generally like, oh, that's not my business, I don't want to pry, I don't want to be nosy, but we have to be nosy. Like for this stuff to stop, we got to get in each other's business and say, that's not right, like call people out. Because I think if I knew I had more support around me, maybe I would have left like way before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. What kind of call to action do you think is needed today for women going through that?
I think a lot of the ownership, like it's kind of all up to the woman to take all the action to leave. But we know it takes women like between 8 and 9 times to get to the point that they want to leave, and quite often by then it's over for them.
Yeah.
All these women are dying. And
I'm just thinking
women,
if he had turned up that night.
Yeah, like who knows?
Yeah.
And I say women, I know men go through this, but we don't hear about men being found in cars burnt. We don't hear about men going missing.
That's right, yeah.
You know, it's women. And so when women are going through this, I know like there's family harm reports, and women are offered the support like through Women's Refuge and stuff, and it's like, reach out to us when you're ready to make the change. But we need to stop doing that, because it's getting to the point where our community's so used to this that by the time they're ready to make a change, it's over for them. So we need to start going in more, maybe not like, I want to say pressuring people, not pressuring them to leave, but letting them know like there's other options, and don't just go knock on the door once and have that conversation. Keep going back, keep hammering on, because the more people who say this is not right, the more that you'll start to believe it, you know, because it's like brainwashing. You're stuck in that cycle. You think this is so normal, and it's not until people are like, this is not right, that
when you were in Australia and you were in the salon and things like that, or just at that period of your life and your journey, what is something that could have happened that at that time would have made you like, fuck this?
I think, to be honest, I say people should harp on, but I don't know if I would have, I don't think I was ready then. No matter what anyone said, I would just back him. So, because I hadn't been exposed to, at that point, I hadn't been exposed to what like a real relationship does look like.
Yeah, my mum didn't have anything to compare it to.
Nah. And my dad, he's the most amazing man, my dad, so loving and stuff, but I thought he was like a rare gem that didn't exist. I didn't think they made them like my dad. I thought he was just this like rare thing, and it wasn't until I started like working at the prison and the training, met other men that worked there and stuff, and saw that, okay, so there are people like my dad. Saw there was another way. So at that point, maybe they couldn't have done anything to get me out of it, but it's still worth trying. And I think if maybe my friends didn't back off when I stopped accepting the invitations, then maybe I would have felt like they're still there.
Is there anything that could have happened that would have made you feel comfortable in just talking a little bit more? I'm trying to think of, as listeners, you know, what can we do if we, to encourage people that we know to just open up with us a little bit more?
So I think the reason I was so secretive about it prior to speaking to my baby's kohanga whaia was because when I tried a little bit, people would like cringe. Like I said at the start, it's like awkward. Like, that's your business. Like, don't involve us. It's super awkward. And so I think if when I tried to talk about it, if people didn't get all awkward, then maybe I would have spoke up more and been able to get some advice on what I should do or what was right and wrong.
Yeah.
Because people, like, we all say, don't be embarrassed. Don't be shy to speak up. But I know I still see it now. Like, when people start talking about it like this, like me coming on here and doing this, I didn't tell no one. I told like 2 mates. And my ex-sister-in-law, because I still see her like my sister.
Awesome.
I told them, but I haven't told no one else because I don't want to get the, why are you telling the world? You know, it's still very prevalent. You know, people saying, or they don't say you should be embarrassed, but that's just the vibe that's given off.
Yeah.
You talking about it, like you've gone through that, just get through that and move on. You know, and that is what we need to change. Yeah.
Because the thing is, if we don't, like you said, if we don't talk about it, what the fuck are we showing all these young girls?
Yeah.
That you just, you know, you get abused and you wake up in the morning and cook them a big fucking breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, like, no.
And just suck it up and move on.
And the thing is as well, there are other young girls out there that they don't have anything to compare it to, like yourself. If there were people like you talking about it, maybe at that time you would have tuned in and been like, fucking hell.
Yeah, that wasn't talked about at all. Like, now it's becoming far more common. I feel like there's still a real stigma around it, but way more common than it was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe. And I just think, scream it from the rooftops, people, you know, so anyone going through it. The other thing I kind of wanted to point out is, like, you mentioned, another thing you mentioned is they'll do it once, it'll happen again. And I think that's one thing we need to drill into people is, if they're gonna sexually abuse you, if they're gonna punch you, if they're gonna throw things at you, tell you you should kill yourself, that is not going to happen one time.
Yeah.
Anyone who's been through this never ever says, they did that to me once and then we got over this. No, it doesn't happen. So if they do that to you once, you run for the hills.
And the thing is as well, depending on your reaction to that one time is going to determine whether or not they're going to try it again.
Yeah.
If you did fuck all about that, you didn't tell anybody, you kept that shit to yourself, why wouldn't they try it again?
Yeah.
You didn't go and fucking tell anybody. Nobody knows. It's just between you and I.
Yeah.
Fuck, I can do this over and over and over. Until you make that stand to say, you know, fuck this.
Yeah.
And you speak up and you talk to someone, and then they know that it's been uncovered. But then sadly, you know, there's a lot of women out there that aren't getting to that point. They're not making it to that point.
Yeah.
Do you have any triggers? You know, does anything trigger you?
I had like 5 years ago, it's gonna come off again. I'd always had difficult smears. Like, I'd found it really hard to have smears because of like the sexual abuse. And like 5 years ago they were saying, oh, you've got abnormal cells, and you know, to test that they'd keep doing more smears, and it was really, really difficult. So they ended up saying, oh, you've had your 3 babies, should we just like give you a hysterectomy so you don't have to keep going through the smears? And so I was like, yeah, anything to stop having to go through this, because that was a real trigger for me. Having a smear, I'd be like so strong, I felt like I'd completely moved on and so healed, and have to have a smear and just go right back.
Yeah.
So I was like, sweet, boom, give me the hysterectomy. And I was only 30 at the time and didn't really think about like the consequences of not being able to have a baby. Even though like me and my partner have got 3 each, so we don't need another baby, but it would have been nice to have a baby with someone who like loved me while I was pregnant and I know he would have treated me like a queen, you know. So I kind of still get gutted looking back on that, because I feel like I got rid of that part of me just because that happened.
To remove that.
Just because of that trauma. Like, I was so quick to jump to that decision just to stop having smears. But
and now they have the self smear, which looks like an earbud, and you do it yourself.
Well, so I heard, and a month ago I had to have my first checkup since having it removed, and I thought I was going in to have the self smear, but they told me because it's the first one since my hysterectomy they had to do it. And I was just like distraught, and they ended up, like, the nurse, they were like, my doctors are incredible, but she was rolling me around for 20 minutes trying to find this certain part, and I was like bawling my eyes out.
God.
And then she got the doctor in, and she was trying for another 10 minutes, and then they looked at the screen, the computer, and realized, like, I didn't even have the part they were looking for.
Oh, bro.
So it really, oh man.
You're right.
Everyone's gonna be over this. So, you know, that really, like, set me off 4 weeks ago.
Fuck yeah.
And I'll just hold it. And yeah, that set me off. Like, I thought I was good. I was 7-8 years out of it now. I didn't think there's anything that could break me. But I had this smear go on for like half an hour, and it just took me right back to when I was overpowered, you know. So I ended up, I just plummeted really bad a month ago, and have ended up, I got really dark. Got really, really down, and wanted to, I was ready to just step out again. I know now, looking back to the, you know, a few weeks ago, I just didn't know how to deal with all these feelings that were coming up. I thought I was so healed, so moved on, and it would just smack me in the face, like, out of nowhere. So I went to the doctors. They said, have some time off work so you can just focus on healing and stuff. So I'm currently off work for a little bit. And I think, like, that through this, it's another, like, learning for me, because even when you're totally out of it, like, you know, the situation, to heal, some people need some support. And this is the first time since exiting that relationship, I thought, man, I need some support to get through this. So I reached out to ACC because I experienced sexual abuse. So I was able to have some sessions with a counsellor or a psychologist. But they give you a list of people to ring in your area, or there's a website that you have to go to find anyone in your area. And I contacted everyone on the list, and the wait list was like 6 months to 2 years. And I was like, man, I've waited this long to, like, get help. And I think I'd probably say to anyone who's in that position, before you're ready to get help, put your name on that list, because by the time you're ready to talk, you might just have a few months to wait.
Oh, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, but my doctor, because, like, there was a muck up, they felt really bad about it all. So they paid for me to have some private sessions, which has been amazing. First time in my life. So that's been really good. But yeah, just a bit of and today actually I got a call, even though I was told it was going to be between 6 months and 2 years. I got a call to say there's a psychologist available to book me in soon. So I felt like that was another, there's lots of little signs today. Like, I was unsure if I wanted to do this. But there's a few things that have happened, like today, that is heading me in the right direction, and I'm like, nah, this is like my green light, you know? So it's all happening. It's all happening. So for anyone who's like several years out of it, I just want to say, if something happens like what happened to me, and it just smacks you in the face, you know, don't be too hard on yourself. Just do what you can to get through it, because it will get better.
And what would you say to any women that are right in the thick of where you were?
I'd say speak up.
Mm.
Like, I held back for so long. There was times where I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll try talk to them. Maybe I'll try and talk to them about what's going on and see how they feel, like if they think this is right or wrong. And then maybe they'd start talking about something else, so I'd stop. But if there's anyone around, talk to them, like speak up. You just got to reach out for help, because if people don't know, they don't know.
Yeah.
No one knows what's going on behind closed doors. Yeah.
All right. Well, Laura, we just want to say how brave you are. Inspiration, definitely, for many. Even if you might not feel like it, you coming on and pushing through and actually coming here and sharing your journey with everyone, I know you would have inspired a lot of women out there, including us here as well. So thank you so much for coming, and we wish you the best for your future, you and your family.
Thank you.